Welcome back to the DLJonesBooks show. I got something I want to talk about today. It's not a movie review or anything like that. I want to talk about a little bit of news I heard about a week ago about the plans for a black Superman movie, starring a black superhero. When I saw that, I'm like, why? Why do we need a black Superman when there are other black superheroes, especially in the DC universe, that they could make a movie out of? And the one I'm going to talk about today is the one that goes by the name of Icon. It's a little known superhero. Not many people know about it, but I kind of feel like, instead of doing a black version of a superhero we've seen a million times already, why don't we just introduce people to a new black superhero? We'll get in on that right after the intro. All right, I'm back. I'm your host, DL Jones. This is the DL Jones Book Show. And if this is your first time to the channel, I talk about all types of story-related topics. There could be topics talking about movies, TV shows, books, audiobooks. Anything that has a story could potentially be a topic on this show. Movie reviews, TV show reviews, episode recaps, anything like that could be a topic on this show. So like I mentioned before the intro, what I want to talk about is the new black Superman movie that is reportedly in production. For what I understand, they already have a writer and they're looking for actors and all of that kind of stuff to play the new role. But when I see this news, it doesn't excite me. For one thing, it's several reasons why it doesn't excite me. For one thing, and this is overall, Superman is actually not one of my favorite superheroes. And I'll tell you why. For one reason, the thing about Superman, which I think is the reason why it's so hard to make a good Superman movie, is because Superman is just too overpowered. You just look at this guy, this superhero. He does everything. He's the strongest. He can fly. He shoots laser out of his eyes. He can hear long distances. He can see long distances. He can see through walls. He's bulletproof. He can run fast. It's like he does everything. He's like some kind of magic man that, can do basically everything. And it's kind of hard to make a movie when you have the main character that just basically can do everything. It's like if you take a superhero, right? And you rank a superhero from 0 to 10, 0 being like the weakest, around 3 is like the average man, and 10 being like the strongest superhero. Superman is like an 18, and it's kind of hard to make that interesting. Where do you go from there? It's like just about anybody that pose a threat to him is basically, something that if he really wanted to, he could end that fight in a couple of seconds, but it just makes, just for that reason, Superman to me has just not been that interesting. He just seems like he's just too overpowered, and you can get around that by trying to make the stakes about different things other than Superman being beat, in a battle or whatever. You can make the stakes, based on if he gets to save this person or that person or this town or this city. You can do that. And it's hard to do. You got to be really good. They try it, and a lot of times it's just not that interesting. But that's one reason when they announce another Superman movie, of course I'm going to go see it. I like superhero movies. Of course I'm going to go see it. But my interest level, my excitement for something like that is, it just isn't as high as some of the other superheroes out there. Now, and then you look at it and you're like, they want to make a black version of Superman. And it kind of, I'm like, why? Why make a black version of Superman? There are other black superheroes in the DC universe. Make one of those, because what'll happen, the problem I have with making a black version of Superman is that we all know that black version of Superman is not going to be the Superman from going forward. The rumor already states that this is like an Elseworld story. It's outside of the DCEU and all of this kind of stuff. So this is like a temporary movie, a temporary character. It's not a main thing. It's not going to stay that way. And if you're going to have a situation where you have a character that you introduce a black version of that character only to know from the beginning that it's going to be a temporary thing, what's the point? Instead of wasting that temporary time on a temporary character, take one of the other black characters that's in the DC universe and bring that to the forefront. Bring that character to the forefront. Like, for example, I mean, I wouldn't expect them to do a movie because they already have a TV show, but you have Black Lightning. That's a new, well, I wouldn't say new, but that's a black superhero that stands on its own. You could have done something like that. And there are other black superheroes. Now, the one that I want to talk about today is a little known superhero by the name of Icon. Now, this superhero Icon is actually, the reason why I pick him is because he's actually pretty similar to Superman. You know, he's a pretty similar character. It's almost like as if they, you know, made a character that they wanted to make a black Superman, but just made his own character instead of just, you know, making an alternate version of the character we already know, you know. But Icon, I'm going to get in on Icon, tell you a little bit about Icon, and let you know about, you know, this character, this pretty much black Superman, you know, because he is basically a black Superman, and you'll see what I'm talking about once we get to talking about him. Okay, so Icon, his origin story is somewhat similar to Superman, almost the same type of origin story, but a little bit different. So Icon is actually an alien. It's a little bit of a cheat to say he's a black man, but he's actually an alien. He comes from a planet which I'm going from just, I don't know all of the most. I'll link down in the show notes to a video that give you a lot more detail than I'm going to go into by a channel that I watch, not the Blerd Without Fear. You know, he did a video on Icon pretty much explaining a lot more than I'm going to do. But the quick story is Icon, you know, he's an alien, and he came to Earth in 1839, in the middle of the slavery days. You know, he was aboard his ship, and something happened with the ship. And you know, he ended up, the ship, I guess, malfunctioned or exploded or something. And he was in a pod, like an escape pod, and it jettisoned from that ship and landed in the deep south in 1839. Now, one thing about Icon is that he doesn't know anything about his planet. He doesn't know, you know, Superman, you know, he knows Krypton and all of this stuff, but Icon basically doesn't know anything about his planet. All he knows is that his ship was jettisoned and landed in the deep south, and he has his ship, and that's it, you know. So his ship has an AI, and the AI is kind of does stuff to protect him, you know, once it landed in the deep south. And the one thing it did was it rearranged his body, his appearance and everything to make him look like one of the first people that approached the ship, you know, so that he can fit in this world that he had nothing, you know, nothing, and he didn't know anything about, which he was a baby at the time. And of course, the person that walked over to the ship and found it was a woman, a slave woman, and she found him. And of course, the ship rearranged him to look like a little black baby. So she found him and she raised him, you know, as her own, you know. So while I say it's a little bit of a cheat because he's actually an alien and not necessarily a black person, you know, he could have changed his appearance. He decided to remain a black person, you know, throughout his whole history, you know. So in my book, I kind of feel like, you know, he's an honorary black person because, you know, he could have had the ship rewrite his appearance to look like a white man or something else. But he landed in the middle of slavery, was raised by a slave woman, and he saw the horrors of slavery and still decided to be a black person, you know. He still remained a black person. He never rewrote his appearance to look like something different. He stayed to where, you know, to where he was brought up, how he was raised. So in my book, he's an honorary black person, you know, even though he is technically an alien. And then you come to his power set, which is very similar to Superman. He's just as strong as Superman. He can fly. He has super strength. He can run fast. You know, he's almost indestructible, bulletproof and stuff, just like Superman. He basically has all of the same powers that Superman has. He has a few different powers. It's completely different than what Superman has. And that power is that he can control like radiant energy around his surroundings and stuff. And with that, he can do a lot of different things. He can create concussion blast and do a bunch of stuff, shoot energy bolts and all of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of things he can do. That's pretty much one of the only things that's kind of different than Superman. You know, a power that he has is kind of different than Superman. He also has decelerated aging. So what happens is when he became an adult, his aging just slowed down tremendously. So he's lived for a long time, and he's lived so long that every so many years, like a generation or two, what he would do is change his identity to say that he's his own son, you know, instead of trying to explain to people why he's never aged, you know, why he's been on this planet since 1839, but he actually only looks like a 40-year-old man. You know, every so many generations, he takes on the identity of his son. You know, of course, he's the same person, but he just starts saying, oh, that's my father, I'm his son. You know, he does that, and he's done that 4 times so far throughout the histories of the comics. Now, the reason why that happens is because most of the time throughout history, nobody knew he was a superhero. He went by the name of Augustus Freeman, and he basically lived a normal life. You know, he lived a normal life. He's lived through slavery. He's very intelligent. So just over the years, he ended up being a lawyer and starting his own businesses and stuff like that. But he just basically lived his own life. He didn't try to be a superhero. He didn't put on the uniform and nothing like that. Now, he did help people, but he's always done it like on the sneak. You know, he like secretly helped people. He didn't bring attention to himself. He didn't throw on the cape and start yelling out, you know, I'm Icon or anything like that. He just secretly helped people, and people didn't know he had powers. It wasn't until he got robbed one day and he had to use his powers to defend himself, and another person who ended up being his sidekick saw him and convinced him to, you know, show the world his powers, use his powers, and then that's when he became Icon. So when he became Icon, remember I said when he crash landed, you know, his ship rearranged his appearance to make him appear to be a black child. Well, his ship has like these little abilities to reconfigure his DNA and all of that kind of stuff. So his ship created a uniform for him to wear when he became a superhero, which the uniform itself has like abilities too, as far as, you know, helping keeping him safe, as like some kind of super armor and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, he's just like Superman, but got a few different powers. But basically, you know, he's the black Superman. If you're going to make a movie and you be like, you want to make a black Superman, why not just introduce the world to Icon? You know, he's already there. They already got stories in the comics. You know, he's already there. Now, the thing about Icon is he didn't start off in the DC universe. Icon was a comic book that was created by Milestone Media, which was a comic book that was separate from DC. It was called the Dakotaverse, but it was still published by DC Comics, you know. And at some point, you know, they had like a big event, you know, which comics do all the time, and they brought the Dakotaverse into the DC universe. So Icon is now in the DC universe, which he wasn't before. So he would be perfect, you know, if it's DC that want to bring a new black superhero. You know, Icon is in the DC universe, and Icon has actually been on the cartoon Teen Titans. That's actually when I first saw him. I didn't know who he was. I saw him on Teen Titans, and I'm not gonna say I'm like a super comic book person, but I'm pretty familiar with most of the characters, you know. So when I saw him on Teen Titans, I was like, who is this? And then I went and started doing some research. That's when I found the site, the video Blerd Without Fear, you know, another YouTube channel that talk about comics. I really like that channel. He did a video, you know, just letting you know who Icon is, you know. And I was like, oh, Icon's pretty cool, you know. But yeah, Icon is that person that they should do instead of Superman. You know, I don't want to see a black version of a superhero that we already see. I want to see them bring to light, bring to the masses a black superhero that may not be anybody, it may not be something that people know about, you know. Just show us something new. You know, look at Black Panther. You know, a lot of people that was in the comics knew about Black Panther, but if you wasn't a comic book person, you wasn't familiar with the comics, you wouldn't have known who Black Panther was, and that movie introduced you to him. You know, you're not introducing any new people to a Superman that happened to be black when you got other black superheroes that you could use. Show us, bring those superheroes out. And I know it's too late now, but I wish they would do an Icon movie. Forget this Superman crap, the black Superman, you know, just do an Icon movie, you know. That's what I would rather see. So anyway, if you like this video, make sure you click the subscribe button, click like, and check out Icon. Check out some more information about Icon. Do some Google search, read up on them, because there's a lot of, not just Icon, but there's other black superheroes out there that we don't know about, you know. And I feel like they should be bringing those superheroes out instead of, you know, bringing in a stand-in for a temporary role at a superhero that we've seen a million times before, you know. But that's all I got to say on the subject today. go do some reading up on Icon, and you probably like him. He's basically very similar to Superman, other than the fact that, you know, he didn't try to be like this big, you know, out in the open superhero his whole life. He only started doing it later in life. But yeah, go check it out. And thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. While you're here, why don't you check out that video right there? Or maybe that one right there. And while you're at it, go ahead and click that little picture of my image there and subscribe to my channel.